Speaker of the House, the Honorable Paul D. Ryan of Wisconsin, who joins us now from Washington. Speaker Ryan, you're probably the busiest guy around when it comes to actually constructively working for the Republic.
Hey, Michael, how you doing? Yeah, it's a busy time right now, but I'd say this is probably a generational defining year, and we take it that seriously, and so we're busy.
And I know that part of what you and your leadership team, which includes, by the way, members of the Freedom Caucus of the Tea Party wing of the party, it's all factions of the party. Right. They're all working together up in the House of Representatives to try to lay out an agenda for reform. Is that an agenda that we can run on in 2016?
Not only is it one we can run on, it was one we will run on. The way, look, I took over. You all know the story about John Boehner resigning and how I became Speaker. One of the things that I laid out upon becoming one is if we in the House can't unify ourselves, then how can we expect the Republican Party and the conservative movement to unify across America? So we are unified, all various kinds of conservatives and Republicans. We're a big caucus, 246, the biggest since the Hoover days. And so we are unified, and now we are moving forward by assembling an agenda to run on and roll it out this spring, not fall, but spring, before the presidential election is settled, because we believe we owe it to the country to give them a very crystal clear choice so that the people of this country can choose what direction they want the country to go. Do you want more of the same? Do you want the liberal progressives to just punctuate the moment and lock in what Obama did by just having more of the same with Hillary? Or is the other party, the conservative party, the Republican Party, offering up an agenda worthy of the moment, which is how do we get our country back on the right track? How do we take these principles that founded our country, apply them to the problems of the day, which gives us solutions that actually fix our problems that people can relate to? And do we run on those, commit ourselves to those, and nationalize the election on an agenda on ideas? We win an ideas contest. We lose personality contests as Republicans. And so our goal is to unify conservatives, unify Republicans, offer a very compelling agenda, run on it, and just like Ronald Reagan did in 1980 with House Republicans then, he came in with peace through strength as his contribution. Jack Kemp and other Republicans added an economic freedom component to it, which was Reaganomics. It gave us the Reagan Revolution. He won the 1980 election. In 1981, with a Democrat House, he put that agenda in place, and we now affectionately refer to that time as the Reagan Revolution. That is the kind of election we have to have now. It's generational shaping, and that's the kind of mandate we're going to be asking for, but with the issues of the time. We have 5 basic areas that we're going to tackle, which we think are critical to restoring the American idea.
Let's focus on one of them right at the outset, because one of the very few bits of kind of good news from Washington over the last couple of years was the falling federal deficit. It had ballooned up to destructive levels under Barack Obama, and then John Boehner and other Republicans helped to cut it down. All of a sudden, the deficit's back up. What are you guys going to do about it?
A couple of things. Because we've had the Congress, mostly this the House, we've cut $160 billion from what we call discretionary spending, government agency budgets, since we took our majority. But that's not the big fiscal problem. The big fiscal problem are entitlements, and that is where you have to have the House, the Senate, and the President sign entitlement changes, reforms into law. We've passed a budget 5 years in a row in the House. The Senate did one this year, calling for those entitlement changes, which actually is what you need to balance the budget and pay off the debt. But there's no way with Barack Obama as president we will do that. He added a new entitlement, Obamacare, to the pile of unfunded liabilities. So among the things we're going to be rolling out as part of our economic agenda is a replacement of Obamacare. And remember, Obamacare also involves other entitlements like Medicare and Medicaid. What will we replace that with? How will we reform these entitlements so that we don't have a debt crisis? One of the reasons the deficit went up is because we did enact what we call tax certainty. Instead of having temporary tax cuts, then the money snaps back and goes to the government, we let people keep their money on a permanent basis. Point one. Point two, the military has been hollowed out, and we restored a lot of that to the military, and that was one of our priorities. But point three is the economy is slowing down, and the projections on what the economy is going to do are making our fiscal picture look worse. you need economic growth and entitlement reform. We're going to produce both.
What do you do to stimulate economic growth, Mr. Speaker?
Get rid of this tax code and reform it with a new tax system. Replace the tax code with a pro-growth tax system.
No chance that can happen under Obama, is there?
No, but our agenda is not going to be, here's what we'd like to do with Barack Obama in his last days of presidency. That's just fanciful. Our agenda is going to be, here is what we will do if you, America, men and women of this country, give us a Republican president we can work with to do this. So we need to do tax reform. We need to do energy reform to open up our energy. America can be the dominant player in the energy markets if we get the government out of the way. And we need to clean up the regulatory system. One of the things we're going to propose is how do we reconnect the Constitution and the separation of powers so that we get the federal government executive agencies that have gone way past their authorization back in conformity with law writers, the separation of powers. So a big regulatory reform agenda is going to be a part of this. But what we see as part of our what we call our Article 1 project, restoring the Constitution and the separation of powers, is once we get these good fiscal reforms in place, we want them to stick, we want them to last, so that the next time, a articulate progressive talks his way into the White House, he can't do such damage to the Constitution because we have put the kinds of circuit breakers and reforms back into place so that the executive branch can't overstep their bounds like this one has.
Are you, I don't know if they have decided yet. I know there's a long tradition sometimes when you have a Speaker of the House that he ends up being the, quote, permanent chairman of the convention. Yeah. Is that the role you're going to play?
It is. I didn't even know that until after I became Speaker. I didn't. I got about 6 days' notice before taking this job, and so apparently I am the chair of the convention. So that's one of the reasons why I'm neutral in the presidential election. What I'm just doing is making sure that our party stays a conservative party, but is unified and presents a very clear and compelling choice to the country. And we're going to roll that agenda out this spring so that we don't wait until the end to snap it on the country. We can talk about it all summer, all fall, and give this country a very clear and compelling choice. Because if we win that kind of an election, then we have the mandate we need to, in 2017, do what we need to do to save the country, save the American idea, put America back on track.
This is a concept. It's not just a question of getting members of Congress to agree. The American people need to agree. They haven't yet, but they will if Paul D. Ryan has anything to say about it. Mr. Speaker, I know you have to run. Stay warm, stay hot for change and reform.